Hello, good evening, and welcome to this session today or this evening where we're going to be looking at the reading paper questions from the reading paper, and specifically those questions which are crossover. So we can find them both in the foundation paper and in the higher paper. As it happened in the listening, as we said in the listening, in the foundation paper, crossover questions will be questions 3, 4, and then 7 and 8. Remember, the foundation paper's got 10 questions. And in the higher paper, the crossover questions typically will be 1, 2, 5, and 6. If you're doing foundation, of course, you will find the crossover questions are a little bit more challenging, a little bit trickier, but you'll be fine. If you follow certain steps and you've learned your vocabulary and stuff, you'll be absolutely fine. Now, a little bit before we start looking at our first question, let's have a few reminders of what you need to do well in your reading paper. Okay, what you need to bear in mind. Remember, time is crucial. Okay, you have got time compared to the listening where you just hear something twice and you have to make a decision there and then. You've got more time in the reading paper, so use it. Okay, so reread. Okay, reread your questions, reread your what's written there. Be careful with distractors. Okay, just because you found a word that's related to what's in the question doesn't mean that that's the right answer. Okay? Link to distractors as well. While you're while you're reading, look for key words. Okay? Look for key words. Remember, it's not necessary, okay? It's not necessary to understand everything. This applies mainly to the crossover questions. Okay, if you understand everything, fantastic, well done, brilliant. But if you don't panic. Very often in the crossover questions, and of course in the higher paper, they put things there that they know that most people won't understand. They put expressions, some verbs, but it's just to see whether you can work things out. Okay, the important things you should understand the things that are that you need for your questions. So don't worry if you don't understand everything, as long as you find the keywords and as long as you check this, okay, that there are no distractors. Examples of distractors are negatives, okay, or mentioning words that are in other options, okay, in incorrect options with a different meaning, okay, with a different, for example, I don't know, it could be, who did Juan visit? His parents, his grandparents, or his cousins? And then there might be, on Sunday, I went with my parents to visit my cousins. Okay, and of course the word parents is there and you might think, oh, parents. But no, it's cousins, because that's who he went to visit. Okay, so be careful with those mentions of words that you're expecting, but that are not the ones that you need for the answers. Okay. Another thing you need to do is always start by reading the title of the question. Okay, and then the question. Okay, the question or and all the options. Why? Because it gives you important information. If you read the title, if you read the questions, what questions you need to answer, very often you already know, or sometimes, especially in the longer texts, you already have quite a bit of the information that it will be given in the text. You already know what they're going to be talking about. You might know what the general message is, okay? And then when you start reading the text, you're not going in blind. If you just go straight for the text, there's so much understanding that you need to do that you're going to find it much, much more difficult. Okay? The other thing that you need to remember is that most times the answers are in order. Okay? Or the questions or the answers or the information is given in order. Notice here, most times. It doesn't mean always. Okay? Not always, but mostly it will be. The other thing you need to make sure that you do, use highlighters, okay, or underline, highlight, underline, make notes. Remember, you can write on the paper, make sure your crosses are clear, make sure your answers are clear, but you can make notes, you can underline, you can highlight where you find answers, tricky words, words that you think might be important. So do that. Something else, if you don't understand, okay, if you don't understand a word, you're struggling, think of related words or possibly related words that you know. Now, what do I mean by this? Let's imagine you find in a text the verb adelgazar. Adelgazar, and you don't know what this verb means. Adelgazar, right? If you look at it, adelgazar, inside it you see a bit of a word that you should be familiar with, which is delgado. Okay, so this, although you might not necessarily work out 100% what the meaning of this verb is, which is to get thinner or to lose weight, to get thinner, you can guess that it's something about thin, about being thin. Okay, and this can help you. That can help you. Sorry. Oh, I sneezed. Sorry about that. Can help you work out the meaning of the sentence. Okay, so think of related words. The other thing that you need to make sure you do is use your knowledge of grammar. Okay, your knowledge of grammar can also help you work out meanings or understand roughly or less roughly the meaning of a sentence. Right, let me just move this a little bit further down. Okay, for example, what do I mean with this? If, of course, remember at all times, remember word order. Okay, the typical Spanish word order. Remember things like you generally find a noun and then it's followed by an adjective, not the other way around. So if you, I don't know, if you saw el and then you saw a word and another word and then you've got a verb, it's quite likely that this word's going to be a noun and this word's going to be a verb. Also remember the articles, okay? Words like el, la, los, las. I know they are obvious words. Un, una, unos, unas. So this is a or some. So remember, if you find this, it's going to be probably followed by a noun. Other things, remember if you if you come across words ending in in ar, in ir, that's going to be verbs in infinitive. Okay. Also remember, remind yourself of all the common verb endings. Also remember the common irregular verbs. Okay, so use all that knowledge of grammar to work out meanings. It's not just about vocabulary. It's mainly about vocabulary, but also grammar is important. Okay, and finally, also as I was saying with the ar, ir, with the verb endings and stuff like that. Remember some common general word endings, and by this mean things like, for example, if you come across words that end in dad, in thion, in eth, or in etha, there are others. Okay, any words that end like this, they're very extremely likely to be nouns. Okay, and especially in these cases, you will find that lots of these words that end like this, they are related to, for example, adjectives or other nouns that you know. So you might not understand the word. Let's say, for example, the word suciedad. Okay, you might know what it means, I don't know, but if you don't, you look at suciedad, immediately you know that it's a noun because it ends in dad. And if you look at this, the adjective of this word should be familiar to you. Sucio, dirty. So sucio or sucia is dirty. Suciedad is dirt or dirtiness. Okay. Another example. Madurez, ending in ez. So as soon as you see it's ez, it's going to very likely be a noun. Even if you don't know what madurez mean, okay, you know that maduro or madura is mature. So madurez is maturity. Another example. Pobreza ends in eza, so it's going to likely be a noun. And the adjective pobre means poor. So if pobre is poor and this is the noun, pobreza is going to be poverty. So do use this knowledge of grammar combined with word endings, etc., to work things out, things that you didn't know at first. Now let's start looking at our first question, which we've got down here. And this is a type of question that, some years it will appear, and it can bring problems, but it really shouldn't. If we know our stuff, it shouldn't. This is the type of question where you need to, of course, understand the text and the way, and in addition to knowing what happened, what did this person receive as a present, where did they go, etc. They also want to make sure that you know your tenses. Okay, they're checking your knowledge of grammar and your knowledge of verb tenses. And what they want to know is if you can place actions as having taken place in the past, as happening now in the present, or happening in the future. In order to do well in this sort of question, we need two things. We need to have two things very, very present in our minds. One is our knowledge of time phrases. Okay? Knowledge of time phrases. The other thing is, of course, our knowledge of tenses and tense endings, verb endings. I would say between these two, I think this one is probably the one that's going to help you the most, although we will also look at the tenses, and of course knowing the tenses is super crucial. So let's have a look first at time phrases. What time phrases do I need to bear in mind? Let's start looking at some time phrases that would point me towards past actions. Okay, so if something happened in the past, if something has happened, things I will very likely see are words like, for example, ayer, yesterday, antes, before. I could come across anteayer, the day before yesterday. I could come across words like ayer, and then I could have por la mañana, in the morning, okay? Por la mañana, but that's, remember, linked to ayer, okay? Ayer por la mañana, por la tarde, por la noche. I could also, if it was ayer por la noche, I could also come across, of course, the word anoche, last night. I could also come across words like, or expressions like el año pasado, last year, or el mes pasado, last month, or la semana pasada, last week. Another common past expression is the expressions with hace. Hace 2 años, 2 years ago, with this hace. Remember, hace also means it makes or it does, okay? But in this case, it doesn't mean this. It just tells you how long ago something happened. So hace 2 años, hace 3 días, etc. And I think that's probably most of the most common expressions you're going to come across when something happened before, okay, in the past. If something is happening now, okay, present expressions are the most common are probably ahora, now, hoy, today, although be careful with hoy, because it could be that you've already done something today, okay? So it could be, or it could be a little bit tricky because it could be present, it could be past, it could be future, because you may be doing something today. So be careful with hoy. We could have en estos en estos momentos, literally in these moments, right now, or en estos instantes, this instant. And other things like, for example, actualmente. And also be careful with the expressions like desde hace, okay? Desde hace tells you for how long something has been happening, okay? So for example, remember here we've got hace 2 años, which means 2 years ago. Desde hace is for how long. So if I say desde hace 2 años, this is for 2 years. Something has been happening, something has been the case for 2 years, okay? So this could be, this could point you to something in the present. So for example, I could say, vivo en Madrid desde hace, okay, desde hace 2 años. I live in Madrid. I have been living in Madrid for 2 years, okay? But notice that this is present. I am living in Madrid now. So be careful with the desde hace, okay? And then we've got some expressions in the future. Some expressions that will point us to future, which are, of course, things like mañana, without the la in front. Remember, mañana, tomorrow. Pasado mañana, the day after tomorrow. Other expressions, I mean, en el futuro, this is a bit of a giveaway, really. En el futuro, but also other things like más adelante, which means literally further forward or later on. Things like después, after. Also, of course, things like we had before el año pasado, last year. We've got el año próximo. El año próximo, next year. But remember that you can also say el año que viene. Okay? El año próximo, el próximo año, and el año que viene. And the same thing for month, okay? El mes próximo, el próximo mes, el mes que viene, la semana que viene. And then we've also got the expression dentro de. So for example, let's follow with the 2 años. Dentro de 2 años, okay? If I read dentro de 2 años, this means in 2 years' time, okay? So these are all expressions that would point us to whether something is happening now, will happen in the past, will happen in the future, or happened in the past. In addition to the to the time phrases, the other thing, of course, we would pay attention to is the verb endings. Okay, the verb endings. We would look at that as well. And remember that if something happens in the present and I am doing it, I would surely find, most of the time, I would find the verb ending with an O, with the exception of things like soy, I am, or boy, I go, or I'm going. Also for the present, I could find constructions like estoy, and followed by a verb with ndo, like estoy viendo, estoy leyendo. Okay, these would also point you in towards a present tense verb, or estamos viendo, estamos leyendo. Okay, any form of the verb. But useful to look at all of the, or remind yourself of all of the present tense endings, and also these expressions with gerund. Okay, literally the translation of I am doing something. If something happened in the past, remember that if I did it, the verb would end in an E or in an I, okay, with E with an accent or I with an accent, like, I don't know, salté, I jumped, viví, I lived, and of course there are all the other verb endings, okay, so remind yourself of all those past endings. Also, past is got the ia and the ia and the aba, okay, verbs that have got ia and aba in them, they're likely to be imperfect. imperfect. So do revise those as well. And also the I don't know, he comido, he saltado, he I don't know, he hablado. Okay, so remind yourself as well of those of the perfect tense, and remember that this is also a verb of the form of the past. And for the future, of course, if it's the future tense, would have re, ras. Okay, we'll end with re, ras, ra. So re, if I will do something like cantaré, you will sing, cantarás. He or she will sing, cantará, and so on. Okay, so remind yourself of the simple future. If it's in future, I might also find this construction, voy a plus an infinitive, so voy a cantar, or vas a cantar, or vamos a cantar. Or also understood as future, we might find the ría, the conditional. Okay, cantaría, I would sing, cantarías, you would sing, and so on. Okay, so do remind yourself of these verb endings, and then you will nail this type of question if it comes up in the exam. So let's look at the question now. Let's look at it with a bit more, let's pay attention to it. So we've got let's start by reading the title, of course, always the case. So it's Alejandro's birthday. So we're going to we're going to read. If we just read the title, in this case, it could be pretty much anything. So what do I need to do? I need to read this text message from Anna. To be fair, it's quite long for a text message. It must have cost a lot. But let's go to the. Before I read the text message, I'm actually going to look at what on earth do I need to do in this question. So what happened before? What happens now? And what will happen in the future. Okay, so that's what I need to understand. Can you see that if you just start by reading the text without knowing what is asked of you, what the question is asking you to do, you will probably, it will be a pointless exercise, because you wouldn't, when reading this, you wouldn't be paying attention to what happens now, what happens next. Okay, so important that you look at what you need to do. Okay, that's what you need to pay attention. So, you need to put the cross in the correct box, and make sure that when you're putting the cross in the correct box that you do. Okay, so follow with your finger, past, present, invitations, whatever. And you need to find information. When does it talk about a disco? So remember, disco is discoteca. Presents, remember the word for presents is regalo, but it might not necessarily mention the word regalo. Also remember that. Invitations, invitaciones. And theatre, teatro. Okay, so when are these things happening, or when will they happen? So let's start reading. Hola, Natalie. Ayer fue el cumpleaños de Alejandro. Okay, we know that, so it's Alejandro's birthday. Y al final le compré un jersey y un CD. Okay, so jersey and CD. This is pointing us towards presents. And notice that in this case, the information is not being given in order. Okay. Un jersey y un CD. So these are the same as regalos. These are the same as presents. Okay, so we found the information, we found where it is, and now we need to find what the tense is. So what am I going to use for that? Ayer fue el cumpleaños de Alejandro. Ayer, okay, so I've got here ayer. That would start answering my question, but let's carry on reading. So, ayer fue el cumpleaños. Yesterday was Alejandro's birthday. Y al final le compré. Compré, y with an accent. So that tells me this is a preterite, and the fact that there's an ayer before that is telling me that happened in the past. En este momento, estamos con sus padres en el teatro. Okay, hold on. I found here teatro. So this is going to answer this question. And what does it say before teatro? Okay, en este momento. En este momento. That's at this moment, at this time, right now. So this is present, confirmed by the fact that I've got estamos in the present tense. So theater, that would be present. El próximo mes, el próximo fin de semana, and remember this expression, okay, fin de semana. For some people, for some reason, some people tend to forget this fin de semana, weekend. El próximo fin de semana. El próximo fin de semana. So what have I got here? El próximo fin de semana, next weekend. So this is another future time phrase. Alejandro tendrá, future, una fiesta en su casa y enviará, he will send, future, las invitaciones, and I've got here invitations, invitaciones, esta tarde. Okay, esta tarde, this afternoon. So, el próximo fin de semana Alejandro tendrá una fiesta en su casa. Actually, this information is not really helping me, okay? It's telling me there will be a party at his house next weekend, but that's not one of the questions. But what's one of the questions is here. Enviará, he will send, las invitaciones esta tarde. And we've got esta tarde, this afternoon, which is one of those expressions that, to be honest, it's not that helpful, because esta tarde, this afternoon, could be an expression of future, past, or present, all of them, okay? Esta tarde, this afternoon. If you are in this afternoon, if now it's this afternoon, you may be using it in the present. If now it's if you're in the morning and you're talking about this afternoon, you will be using it in the future. If now it's the night and you're talking about this afternoon, you will be using it in the past, okay? So esta tarde is not that helpful, but what is helpful is the enviará, which is a future, simple future. So I know that invitaciones is future. And then all I need is the disco. Okay, podrás venir. Will you be able to come? Será muy divertido. It will be lots of fun. Porque después de comer, another time expression, after lunch, vamos a ir a una discoteca con los amigos del instituto. And notice here, vamos a ir. We are going to go, that near future. And here we've got la discoteca, okay? So discoteca, that's going to be future, okay? So do pay attention in these exercises to time phrases, verb tenses, and of course, vocabulary is also important, okay? Some little reminders I wanted to give you in terms of vocabulary, okay? When it comes to presents, remember the word regalo. And also remember, remind yourself of common presents. Presents come up a lot in exams, okay? So things like joyas, jewelry, okay? Pulsera, what's it called? A bracelet. Pendientes, earrings. Collar, a necklace. Un reloj, a watch, okay? So go through common presents, like other things like un ramo de flores, a bouquet. Other things that you could remind yourself of in terms of presents. Have a look at clothes, okay? Ropa. Revise different items of clothing. The more obscure, the better, okay? Because as I said, buying presents for people and stuff like that, or returning presents, is something that is quite common in reading or listening papers, okay? So do make that part of your revision. Okay, so I'm going to stop this here now, or pause this a second. I'm going to change the canvas. We're going to move on to our next question, and I'll be back in a few seconds. Don't move. Okay, and we are back after a quick change of canvas. And yes, here we are with a new question. This is a question on personality. So as soon as you read the word personality, start thinking of all those words that you've learned to do with describing people's personalities. Things like egoísta, things like, tranquilo or tranquila, calm. Things like simpático, friendly, or the opposite, antipático, Of course, all of them allow the feminine and the plurals. And there are many others, and some of which we will see while we go through this activity. So this is an exercise on personalities. And the question is, what type of people are they? So remember, first thing I do, I read the title. Second thing, I start reading the question. I need to know what type of people are they. Then I will read the Spanish in good time, but first of all, I need to know what I need to do. So what I need to put a cross in the 4 correct boxes. And we've got here as an example that someone has described themselves as studious, and that's already been crossed out. This is already a cross, and I know that's A. So I'm going to cross A out because I'm not going to need that. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to read the example, okay? Because looking at the example, looking at exactly how they've done it is important so that I understand and I follow the same procedure. But I'm not going to need A. Then the 4 things I need to find, the 4 types of person I need to find. I need to find someone who is lonely, which, let's remember, in Spanish is solitario or solitaria. Someone who is talkative, which is in Spanish hablador, or charlatán, okay? Hablador, habladora, of course, charlatán, charlatana, okay? It can be either. Musical, which in Spanish would be musical, and generous, which in Spanish would be generoso, okay? The opposite of generoso, remember, would be tacaño, okay? If we're looking at opposites, the opposites of solitario would be either sociable or something like extrovertido. For hablador or charlatán as opposite, we could find, for example, callado or callada. And for musical, there isn't really an opposite. Now, we've done this more than anything so that we revise a bit of vocabulary. Remembering these words, okay, when you see lonely, talkative, musical, generous, is going to be useful because it sort of helps you retrieve that information, helps you be ready for the activity. But remember, this is a higher paper. So the chances of someone describing themselves as within these words solitario, hablador, musical, or generoso are very slim. Chances are they're going to, as you will see here, which is the case here, they sort of describe what a lonely person is like, what a talkative person is like, what they do. So let's start having a look at the example to start with. We've got prefiero estudiar en mi tiempo libre. Okay, remember, notice estudiar. Y en el futuro quiero ir a la universidad. En el futuro quiero, super important word. Remember, I want to. Okay, I want to. Quiero ir a la universidad. I want to go to university. Después, important word, after or afterwards. Quiero ser periodista. Another quiero, and we've got here the word periodista. Okay, again, this is not really related. We don't really need this information for the activity, but this is taking us to some important vocabulary which we need to know. Now, periodista. Do remember, periodista is journalist. Okay, it's the Spanish for journalist, and it's related, of course, to the word periódico. Now, periódico. Now, journalist, periodista, is one of those jobs which, you know, if they had to pick a job, this one could be quite likely. Why? Because periodista looks nothing like journalist, okay? It's not a cognate. So, for a crossover question, or if you were doing the higher, it is quite one of the likely ones, okay? Other likely ones could be albañil, which means bricklayer, or fontanero. Also things like azafata, like flight assistant. There are others, but you know, these ones are, you know, some of the ones that are worth mentioning. Next one I'm going to look at is B, and now remember, now we're starting doing the activity in earnest. Okay, so we've got 5 people left. 5 people describing themselves. I've got 4 things to find. So one of them is not going to be represented by a word. So I'm going to start looking at this. Los sábados, on Saturdays, toco la flauta. Toco la flauta, I play the flute. Remember, tocar, I don't know where else to write, I'll write it over here. Remember that tocar has got two meanings. Is to touch and also to play an instrument. Okay, not to play a game. To play a game is jugar. I'm sure you do remember that. La flauta, the flute, en una orquesta. Okay, orchestra, no problems there. De vez en cuando, from time to time, tocamos, we play, again the verb tocar, en conciertos, conciertos, en el teatro. Okay, so I've got here flauta, orquesta, conciertos, teatro. This is all pointing me to musical. So I look B, I try and find musical, and I do a cross. Okay, in this case, if you wanted, you might want to do a little squiggly line after the example so that I know that I have to start counting from here. Okay, I have to start looking from here. Forget about these ones here because studious is already the example. Now we've got here as the instrument la flauta, which is okay. It's cognate, it's a bit of a cognate. Some instruments, most instruments I would say are cognates. Okay, I've got, I don't know, like guitarra, piano, etc. Some instruments that we might want to bear in mind. Hold on. Contrabajo, double bass. Or other than contrabajo, we've got as well la batería. La batería, which if we're talking about technology, it is a battery, but if we're talking about music, that's the drums. So important looking at at some of the instruments which might not be cognates. Still in the topic of music, of course, we don't need it right now. We found it out, but because we're revising, let's look at it. All the words to do with music is the word director. Director de orquesta. Director de orquesta, or just director if it's in the right context, is a conductor, okay, an orchestra conductor. So remember as well, I'll put it over here, that the word conductor in Spanish is not a conductor, but a driver, because it comes from the verb conducir, which is to drive. Okay? And also, still in the topic of music, if, for example, you see words like violinista, pianista, flautista, okay, they are the musicians that play in each instrument. So violinista is a violinist, pianista, pianist, flautista, okay, someone who plays the flute, etc. So it works in this way, very similar to the English, but just to confirm, it does work that way. And another word related to music could be also things like something like ritmo, okay, ritmo, the rhythm. Okay, so we've done B. Now let's move on to C. In C, C says vivimos, we live, en una nueva ciudad y por eso no tengo amigos. No tengo amigos. I haven't got friends or any friends. Paso mucho tiempo, remember, paso tiempo, to spend time, okay? Pasar tiempo is to spend time. En casa, y no hablo con nadie. I don't talk to anyone. So no tengo amigos, I haven't got friends, plus no hablo con nadie, I don't talk to anyone. And remember, this nadie actually means nobody. So this literally means I don't talk to nobody. That's how we say it in Spanish. It's going to be someone who is lonely. So this is C, lonely here. C, I get down to lonely, and it's down here. So no real problems there. Okay, the only thing to remember, just be aware and remember the negatives. Okay, we've got we've got nadie here, and other negatives to remember are nada, nothing, or nunca, never. Okay, super important negatives to remember. Let's have a look at D, mis padres dicen que paso demasiado tiempo charlando. Charlando. We've got here charlatán, charlar, to chat, por teléfono. So my parents say that I spend too much time, and again, spending time, charlando, chatting on the phone. Y con mis amigos. Y que esto cuesta mucho. With my friends, so chatting on the phone with my friends, to my friends, that costs a lot. Notice cuesta is it costs, okay? So we've got charlando, chatting from the verb charlar. Notice that this ando or ndo, it's like the ing in English, okay? Chatting, charlando. And also remember that charlar is to chat, but it's only to chat face to face. If you're chatting online, that's chatear. Okay? So D is going to be, this is someone who chats a lot, so that's going to be someone who is talkative. And then siempre gasto todo mi dinero, siempre gasto, I spend todo mi dinero, money, comprando, we've got another ando, buying, regalos, presents, important word, regalos, para mi familia y mis amigos. So I always spend my money buying presents for my family and my friends. No me importa, I don't mind or I don't care. No comprar cosas para mí. I don't mind not buying or not to buy things for me. So who is this describing? This is describing someone who is generous. So E, we're going to make the mark here, okay? So we are now, okay, we've got the 4 crosses. So we could say, all right, then I've got the 4 crosses. I'm going to move on to the next exercise, but don't, okay? Please do double check. Do read F, have a look, because what happens if actually F matches even better the description of someone who is lonely or of someone who is talkative, okay? Do double check. So F says, no paso mucho tiempo al aire libre. No paso mucho tiempo al aire libre. Al aire libre, literally at the free air, outdoors. Me gusta más, I like more, ver películas con mis amigos, watching films with my friends, y jugar con videojuegos, and to play with video games. And okay, and that confirms, no, this is not describing any of these adjectives. This is just saying someone, describing someone who, doesn't like being outdoors. It's quite, he's quite happy to be at home, but has got friends, okay? Con mis amigos. So that would be it. I've got the 4 crosses and it's all done, okay? So things to remember from this type of exercise: make sure you you get rid of the example. First of all, make sure you're looking for keywords, but paying attention to things like negatives, paying attention to distractors, and make sure that you carry on reading up until the last thing, even when you've got all the answers there. Okay, of course, at the end of the question, make sure that you've got the 4 crosses done, okay, and that you haven't got an extra cross at the same level as the example, okay, because this is a mistake very, very, very easy to do with this sort of matrix type of questions, okay? Right, so that's it for this question. Let me change the canvas again and I'll be back in nothing, 5 seconds. And I'm back with a new question on the crossover questions. This is one question where, it can look pretty harmless, and it is, to be honest. It's not the trickiest, but it's got a few things, this question specifically, it's got a few things that I find quite interesting, and that is going to give me, a bit of an excuse to explain you something that I think it's very, very important to bear in mind. So let's start by looking at the question itself. In a question like this, it's useful to highlight the words that give you an answer, okay, that give you the answer. Why? Because if you are between, if there are two possible options, two possible things that you might think this might be option A or B, you may then go to the highlighted words and think, okay, no, this one is more suitable, or that one is a little bit more suitable. Okay. Now let's have a look at the question itself. The question is called "In Town." So it's going to be about, probably about places in town. So if I start reading, it says, where are they going? So yes, it's the typical question where there are people who tell us what they need to do, where, what type of thing they need to buy or what type of thing they need to do. And then you have to say what place they are going to. So these are the places here at the bottom. We've got the places. And the places are these. They are the job centre. Well, let's start looking at estate agents. That's already been done, but why not remind ourselves of the expression for estate agents? The estate agents is un agente o una agencia inmobiliaria. Okay. I don't think it's not the most likely word to come up in exams, but why not bear it in mind just in case? Who knows? Maybe this year is the year. Job center is oficina. Hold on. Oficina de empleo o de trabajo. Could be either. Generally de empleo, but car rental is alquiler de coches o de vehículos. And travel agents is una agencia de viajes. Okay? Now, these words are not going to appear because otherwise they would be giving you the answer. So, why is it useful to bear this in, to think about these? Oh, hold on, I just realized I've missed one. Language school is una escuela o una academia either, una escuela o academia de idiomas. Okay. Another word for idiomas is languages o lenguas extranjeras. Okay. Now, as I was saying, these words and these exact terms are not going to appear, but it's possible that some of things like empleo, trabajo, lenguas extranjeras, idiomas, something like this could come up. Okay, and because we're revising, we might as well try and remember what these words would be. Okay, so. I'll start now reading. So now having worked out what I need to do exactly, what are the options, so I need to do a cross. I might again want to do a little squiggly line between the example and the other options so that I don't make the mistake of making another cross on the example. Then I'm going to start reading. And the first one, Jose, has already been done for me. And I know that he's after an estate agent. So I'm going to look at it just to, to double check that I know how to do the exercise. So busco un piso. Interesting word, busco. I am looking for, or I look for. I am looking for. Un piso, a flat. Notice that they could have given you casa, bungalow. They could have given you other types of accommodations which were, which you either certainly knew or were cognates, but no, they've gone for piso. Okay, para compartir, to share, con mi hermana, with my sister. So yeah, I know. Okay, I need estate agents. All right, let's move on to the next one. Luisa says, quiero aprender a cocinar. Quiero, remember, quiero, I want, and we'll come back to words like this in a minute. I want. Aprender, remember, aprender, to learn. And the sort of opposite or related to aprender, remember there's the word enseñar, to teach, okay? And also if you see this verb aprender, we've got words like aprendiz, which is an apprentice. And in fact, in English, the word for aprendiz, apprentice, is very similar to this. So that's where the word comes from, okay? From the verb aprender, that it's to learn. And cocinar, to cook. So someone who wants to learn to cook, where are they going to go? Well, probably to a cooking school or similar, but that's none of the options. So this one is probably be the one that I don't need. But, okay, I won't make the final decision yet. I need to read the others. Anna says, pienso ir a un país extranjero. Notice here, país extranjero, a foreign country, okay? And remember the word país, country. People forget it, I don't know why. País extranjero, and ir, to go to a foreign country. To go to a foreign country, where do you go? Travel agents. So, see, Anna is going to be travel agents. Now, interesting expression, this pienso ir, okay? Pienso means literally I think. But when pienso is followed by an infinitive, like in this case, ir, then it means something more like I am planning to. Okay? I am planning to, or I intend to. So it expresses a bit of a firmer intention than just I think. Okay, it's not I'm thinking about going to a foreign country. No, it's not as loose as this. It's more firm. I am planning on going to a foreign country. Okay, so do remember this, pienso plus infinitive. Now, Oscar, what does he want? Busco, again, I'm looking for un empleo, a job. Okay, empleo, same as trabajo. Por horas, by the hour, para ganar dinero, to earn money. So if he's looking for a job to earn money, he's going to go to the job center. So I'm going to look for Oscar, job center, mark it here. Related to ganar dinero, remember we've got the opposite of ganar, which would be gastar dinero, to spend, and also other words related to money like pagar, to pay, or also things like malgastar, to waste, or costar, or valer, which is to cost, to have a price. Okay. Let's look at Daniel. Daniel says, quiero estudiar idiomas. Quiero estudiar idiomas este año. So we've got the word idiomas. So that's going to be the language school. So Daniel goes here. And also for idiomas, do remember some languages. Most languages are cognates, but remember the language Alemán, German. It's not a cognate, and it is, if they have to choose a language, this one tends to be a likely one. And then we've got Juan, who says, necesito alquilar un vehículo, alquilar to rent. Notice, remember, alquiler de coches, alquiler de vehículos is car rental, para este fin de semana. Notice again, they've used the word vehículo rather than coche. So Juan goes to the car rental. Okay, and that's it. So as you can see, it's not a massively complicated activity as long as you know the vocabulary. If you don't know the vocabulary, you haven't got a chance. Okay, so it's you just need to know the vocabulary. Now, the one thing I wanted to talk to you about is these words like this quiero, or like this necesito. Okay, these are what we know as modal verbs. Okay, modal verbs, and they are verbs which in Spanish they are followed by infinitive. Infinitive. What's that? Remember, that's the forms of the verb that end in AR, ER, or IR, depending on the verb. And they change slightly the meaning of the verb, or they change the... It's not that they change the meaning, but it's like, for example, if instead of saying como, I don't know, como chocolate, which means I eat chocolate, I say quiero comer chocolate. This means I want to eat chocolate. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to talk to you about these is because, of course, if you just see comer chocolate, eating chocolate, it can be anything. It can be, yeah, I eat chocolate, or I ate chocolate, or I want to eat chocolate, or I need to eat chocolate, or I have to eat chocolate. Okay, but you need to know exactly what is the situation, okay? And that's why we're going to look at these verbs. So the first of these verbs that I wanted to mention to you is this one, okay? The verb querer, to want. And in its most usual form, probably, some of the most usual forms are quiero. By the way, I'm going to give you here the I form most of the time, but do look at other forms, okay? Because these verbs exist in all the forms, and any could come up. So quiero, I want, but also in other tenses, things like querría, I would want, which in English you would translate probably as I would like, or quería with just one R, I wanted. Okay, so important verb to remember. Another one of these verbs is the verb poder, to be able to. Okay, poder, to be able to, and we will find it often as puedo, I can, or as podía, I could or I was able to, or as podría, I would be able to. Another one of these verbs is deber, which is it's a bit like a must, should, okay, have to, a bit of a mixture of them all. So deber, in the present tense, debo, I must, I have to. Debía, I had to. Debería, I should. Okay, so notice how important these are. I'm sure you've seen forms of these many times, but you need to make sure that you remember them for the exam. Another one, or another two, are things like haber de or tener que. They mean the same, which is to have to, okay? And I might find he de, this means I have to, and tengo que also means I have to, okay? So these two mean the same, but just expressed differently. Había de, I had to, same as tenía que, okay? It's also I had to. Habría de, I would have to, same as tendría que. And related to these expressions, we also have hay que. Hay que is a bit like one must, one has to, someone has to. Okay, so for example, I don't know, hay que pintar la puerta. Hay que pintar la puerta. We must paint the door. Someone must paint the door. Okay, with this, you're not saying who has to do it. You're just saying that something needs doing. Or still on the needing front, we've got the verb necesitar, which we saw above. And we've got necesito, I need to. And we've also got things like necesitaría, I would need to, or necesitaba, I needed to. Okay, all of them followed by a verb in infinitive, one of these forms. Okay, and then other than these, we've got others that, they're not modal verbs, but they're also followed by infinitive. So let's remind ourselves. So we've got me gustaría, I would like, plus infinitive, like, I don't know, me gustaría nadar, I would like to swim. And then there are other things like, for example, espero or deseo, okay, which are I wish, okay? So espero, I don't know, espero ir de vacaciones. Espero ir de vacaciones, or deseo ir de vacaciones. I hope to go on holiday. I wish to go on holiday. So again, followed by infinitive. All right? So interesting things to remember, these modal verbs. Please look at them. Look at all the forms, okay? The we form, the he or she form, the they form are probably the most common ones. And and make sure that you are ready to encounter them and to understand them fully when it comes to the exam. All right? So a little pause. This is going to be the last little pause that we are doing, just to do the last final change of canvas, and I am straight back. And here we are with a final canvas, the final question we're going to look at this evening. This is the type of question that would be, we would discriminate between grades D and C probably. So it's aimed at grade C. And basically, it's one of those questions where there is the text you've got is longer. The the information is spread throughout the text, so you haven't got one person speaking, another person speaking, another person speaking. You have to find the information throughout the text. This, on the one hand, could be, a little bit challenging, but what you need to remember, really important, that the information usually will appear in order. Okay, so the information in the text will appear in the order that is asked for in the questions. So it's useful if you highlight where you find the answer for one question, and then you know that the answer for the next question is going to be after that, not before that. And also if you've got, for example, the answer to question 1 and to question 3, you know that the answer to question 2 will be somewhere in between. Okay? So that's really important to remember. The other really important thing to remember is distractors. Okay, this is a as I said, this is targeting grade C, so it's looking, it's looking at whether you actually do understand well. So they're not going to put things that easy. So there's going to be distractors, meaning that words will appear. Words will appear to mislead you. So you will probably find words that you were expecting to see, but not with the meaning that you were expecting. But they put them there so that, people see, oh, I found this word, and that must be the answer. Okay. And the other thing could be things like negatives. Okay. So do be aware of those things. So let's start looking at the question. The question is called a new business. So important to read the title, a new business. So this is what's going to be about, work, employment, having a business, running a business. So expect to find vocabulary on that topic. And then obviously you have to read the article and then answer the question. So we're going to start by looking at the questions and trying to go through what the vocabulary, what the words would be in Spanish, even though we might not find them as they are in the text. So the first question, the example, is Victor is a hairdresser. Okay, let's remind ourselves, hairdresser is peluquero. Peluquero or peluquera, in this case peluquero because he's a man, but if it was a woman, would be peluquera. Remember that chemist is farmacéutico or farmacéutica. And remember that the word for pharmacy, for chemists, is farmacia. Okay, and then teacher, let's remember it's profesor. Don't get it, by now you probably, you should know that professor is teacher, but remember, don't get it mixed up with the word professor. The word for professor in Spanish is catedrático. Okay, catedrático or catedrática. Not a word that tends to come up a lot in GCSE exams, but never mind. Let's if you know it, that's even better. So the first question you're going to have to ask is who he works for, his parents, himself, or a friend. So obviously if it's his parents, I might come across, there might be something like padres. Okay, padres. Do remember that padres is not fathers. It can be, but generally speaking it's parents. And do not fall into the trap of thinking that parientes is parents. Okay, remember parientes is relatives. Himself, we might find things like mi mismo. Okay, mi mismo, almost literally me, same. Okay, me, myself. And a friend, of course, we all know the word amigo or amiga. Okay, and also remember word like amistad, una amistad or amistades. Okay, it's another word for friend. So this question is he works for. Remember, if you can highlight things, just to be quick. So works for whom? Right, the business has. What's happened to the business? Has it remained small, grown a lot, or become expensive? Okay, so remain small, that may have something like pequeño. Okay, so there might be something like seguir pequeño or seguir siendo pequeño. There might be something like no ha crecido. It hasn't grown. Okay, grown a lot. We might see ha crecido. It has grown from the verb crecer, to grow, and become expensive. There would be something like caro. Everyone that works with him is. So again, here the key is probably works with him, his workers. Okay, you might want to put here workers or colleagues. Okay, so that again you remind yourself quickly, what was this about? Young. So young is joven. Remember, the opposite of joven is viejo, or to be less offensive, because viejo is, nobody likes to be called viejo. A more sort of respectful word is mayor. Okay, helpful, we could have amable. Amable, or amable servicial, but that's a little bit maybe a bit tricky. Okay, amable, servicial. And then experienced, we could say con experiencia. And then the products used are well known, conocidos, or we could have famosos. Exclusive, exclusivos. And natural, natural. Okay, now what we've done here, okay, we're just doing this for revision purposes, to remind ourselves of what these words are in Spanish. Because this is a C grade question, chances are you're not going to find these words as you expect them in the text. You may find some of them, but not all. And, let's be honest, if you find them, there will be very few. And it's probably more likely that if you find some of these words, they are actually distractors. They are put there so that you think that is the answer. Okay, so you really need to be prepared to find, how they've expressed things in a bit of a roundabout way. Right, so let's start reading the text. Soy Víctor y soy peluquero. Okay, so here I've got the answer to the first question. It is useful to find where the answer to the example is, because let's say the answer to the example is over here. I would know that if as it usually happens, the information is going to be given in the order that appears, I will know that there's no answer before this point. Okay, in this case it's basically in the same sentence, so it's not great help, but I know that also if it's right in the first sentence, I know that the next answer is going to be anywhere from here. Okay, so I'm ready from here. Okay, right, so we're now looking for he works for. And by the way, I'm doing this like this for speed. Okay, I'm going straight to looking for the answers. What it would be better that you did was have a first read of the whole thing. Okay, first read the whole thing to have a bit of an idea. You know what the rough idea of the text is because you've read the questions, you know what the text is about. But just to have a bit of a first read, have a bit of an idea. And then in the second read, start looking for answers. Okay, this way also you will know, because you've read it once, you will know if maybe it's likely that, there is something about a particular point later on in the text. Okay, so, remind yourself to do that. So he works for whom? So let's start reading. Después de terminar mis estudios, this is after, okay? Después de terminar mis estudios, trabajé, I worked, con una amiga. So look, I've got here the word amiga. So that might be the answer. Pero gracias a la ayuda financiera de mis padres, I've got padres here. Hace 2 años comencé mi negocio de peluquería. So I've got here this word, padres, and I've got also amiga. Now, as I said, be careful. Let's read the sentence again. Let's look at what exactly it means. So, after finishing my studies, I worked con una amiga, with a friend. I worked with a friend. Notice this is the past tense. Is he working with a friend, or more specifically, for a friend now? No. He worked with a friend before. But, gracias a la ayuda financiera, remember this expression, gracias a, thanks to, okay? Gracias a la ayuda financiera, thanks to the financial help of my parents. Hace 2 años, 2 years ago, remember this word, hace, ago, comencé, I started, mi negocio, my business, de peluquería, of hairdressing. So he worked with a friend, he had his parents' financial help, but who does the business belong to? Himself. Mi negocio, my business. So the answer is he works for himself. Okay, so be careful, you've got here the 2 distractors, but the answer is the one that doesn't actually appear as mi mismo. Okay, all you need to understand is the mi negocio, my business. Now let's look for the second question. The business has. Okay, so al principio todo era nuevo y muy diferente de lo que había hecho antes. So al principio, at the beginning, al principio, nice expression, at the beginning, todo era nuevo, everything was new. Y muy diferente, and very different, de lo que, of what, remember this, lo que, what, okay, of what había hecho antes, I had done before. Do you need this information? Not really. It's not answering any question. So let's carry on reading. Ahora, now, we've got here ahora, now. Todo ha cambiado. Everything has changed. Remember this verb, cambiar, to change, okay? Cambiar, super important. It appears a lot. And also the word cambio, change. Okay, useful to remember them. Tenemos más clientes que nunca. Tenemos más clientes que nunca. We have more clients than never, or as you would say in English, more clients than ever. Okay, so if we have more clients than ever, the business has grown a lot. Okay, muchos de ellos jóvenes. Look, I've got the word jóvenes here, which is one I was anticipating. That I might find for here. So does these jóvenes answer this question? Everyone that works with him is young. Let's have a look. So let's read again. Tenemos más clientes de nunca. Que nunca. We have more clients than ever. Muchos de ellos, many of them. Many of them. Who are they? Who are these them? Them. The clients. Okay, so are the workers, are the co-workers, or the colleagues young? Not necessarily. So far he's described as young, not the workers, but the clients. So notice how you've got another distractor here. I'm going to carry on reading. This could still be the answer, but they've tried to distract me here. La gente siempre necesita buenos servicios de peluquería. Important word, that worth remembering. La gente, yeah? La gente, people, siempre, always, necesita, needs, buenos servicios de peluquería, good services of hairdressing, so good hairdressing services. Does that answer any question? Not really, not yet. Y yo me aseguro, interesting verb, asegurarse, asegurarse, to make sure, de tener empleados. So notice here we've got the word empleados. Empleados, why is it important? This is employees, yeah? Empleado is employee. So is he going to describe the people he works with? Probably, because it's his business. He works with people, so the people he works with are going to be his employees. Que tienen qualificaciones, qualifications, y que llevan varios años en la profesión. Llevan varios años en esta profesión. They have been several years in this profession. Remember this expression, llevar llevar plus an expression of time is to have been somewhere or doing something for however long. Okay, so if the employees have got qualifications and have been in this profession for several years, they are experienced. Okay, so notice how we don't find a word like experiencia, but they're telling you in a roundabout way. So, and now the last question, the last answer I need is the products used are, what are they? Well-known, exclusive, or natural? So let's continue reading. Naturalmente, oh, hold on, I've got here something about natural. Naturalmente. Todas las cremas, hold on a second, but this is naturalmente at the beginning of a sentence. So is this going to be describing the products? I don't think so, because I know that natural is the word natural, but I also know that mente is the Spanish equivalent of the English le. Okay, so what this means is got nothing to do with the products being natural. What this is the expression naturally. So again, I've got a little distractor here that's trying to point me towards me choosing natural, but I don't think I'm going to, or at least I'm going to carry on reading for now. Naturalmente, todas las cremas, remember we're looking for products, okay? We're probably not going to find the word products. Todas las cremas, creams, y la gama de cosméticos, cosmetics, gama is range, okay? If you don't know this word, it's not the end of the word because you know cremas is creams, cosmetics is cosméticos, so you can work out that that's talking about the products, okay? Remember, gama is the word range. So todas las cremas y la gama de cosméticos que usamos, that we use, son de marcas de fama mundial. And we've got here fama mundial, worldwide reputation, worldwide fame. Okay, so remember the word marca, brand. Okay, brand is marca. And if these are de fama mundial, what they are is well known. Okay, and then even though I've got the last answer crossed out, I'm going to finish off reading just in case. Sin embargo, however, nuestros precios no son caros. And notice here I've got another distractor. I've got caros, which is the one I might be expecting for exclusive, but it's not talking about the products being or it's not saying that the products are expensive. It's saying that their prices, los precios, no son caros. They're not expensive. So I'm not going to mark exclusive. And finally, en el futuro me gustaría enseñar peluquería. In the future, I would like to teach hairdressing. Okay, so notice how this question can be a little bit daunting, especially if you're doing foundation paper where most of the other questions are a little bit shorter or a little bit more sort of split. And here you've got a big chunk where you have to find the information throughout the text. But if you remember to check for the order, what order things come up, not be fooled by the presence of distractors, not be fooled when you find the word that seems to be the obvious answer. Read, make sure you understand as much as possible of the sentence. If you do all that, you will probably be all right. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it here for this evening. I hope you feel a little bit more ready for Friday. Keep working. Keep reminding yourself of going through vocabulary, going through practice, and you will do great. Okay, so very, very good luck. Have a good evening. Speak to you later.